Okay, so thank you so much for the time we had today. And as we always say, welcome to the Xcitium Arabia family. Um, Today we aim to start a journey with you guys. We call it the empowerment journey. And the empowerment journey, we will be working together where we provide you with sessions like those ones. So there will be sessions related to the technology itself starting today. And so that you guys get deep understanding and you add to your knowledge stuff related to what makes Xcitium different and what kind of disruption it brought to the industry. It's a massive disruption. It's one of the biggest disruptions that I've witnessed during my entire experience. It's the same as EDR disrupted the industry in 2012 when we moved from signature-based antivirus protection into behavioral analysis, detection-based protection, and all of that. We're moving now to the next phase, and Xcitium has led that. Everyone is catching up or trying to catch up later. So there will be sessions, including today, where we focus on the technology itself because we need a deeper understanding what difference we bring to the table. But there will also be sessions related to the product itself, like the product's stack that Xcitium has, so that you know that we don't only have the zero dwell containment. We got stuff such as the email gateways, web gateways, training, cybersecurity training that comes with phishing simulation. We've got also services related to penetration testing and others. So it's going to be a journey. So there will be sessions related to products and there will be sessions related to sales. Where we have open discussions on competition, the sales pitch, and all of that. We do believe that you guys have a great buffer of value to add to the operation because of your style, your unique style of how you do things. So yes, we share the common knowledge and the common practices, but you guys have your own style, your own charisma, your own experience, your own connections that will add value to the entire business model we have in the region. So thank you so much for the value you add to our operation and to Xcitium Area. Today's session is about the technology itself, which is the first session we always start with before we go into sales or products or anything else, because this is what makes Xcitium different. Everything else is like anyone else, but this one is what makes Xcitium different. We will focus today on how to leverage that and how to present the case to the customers. We will discuss what's wrong with the existing technologies, not the technology vendors. Technology vendors are amazing. Kaspersky, CrowdStrike, 40net, Trend Micro, all of the names that we have in the market are great players in this industry. But there is a problem with the technology itself. And that's what we will focus on. And we will walk through some documents that we call Why Xcitium. And those documents can be used to share with customers. I've already shared them by email earlier. We have Arabic and English versions of those so that if you have an Arabic speaking audience or customer, you can share it with them. We've also suggested introduction emails that you can use or modify as you see fit when you engage with your customers. Okay. I'll please keep this as an interactive session so that we like address your questions or any comments about the technology. We hope it will be a joyful experience. Before I go to the session itself, I have already asked my team members from different departments to come along this session. Why? Because I wanted them to know you so that whenever you need support from different departments, they will be there for you. So we got team members from the marketing department. We've got team members from business development department, team members from professional services department, and the customer care customer success team. With time, you will find that we will work together as an integrated entity. So we will be acting as if we are your pre-sales department. So we'll be happy to help you preparing technical responses, doing POCs, going through technical discussions and challenges, and everything else. And we're localized. We have localized everything in the region so that we can address whether it's a customer that speaks English only or English and Arabic. And so we try to localize from time zone point of view, from language and culture point of view. Good. Let's start with the challenge. And before I go there, Xcitium is an endpoint protection tool. The moment you say endpoint protection tool to customers, you get two responses at the same time. The first one, some confusion, because people think that endpoint protection, it means the old style of protecting laptops and servers, which is antivirus. And the other confusion that happens, a reaction that happens, people say, whoa, man, we've got hundreds of those. CrowdStrike, Kaspersky, Trend Micro, McAfee, Symantec, and you know the industry very well. We've got hundreds. What are you bringing to the table that is different than anyone else? And why do we have to go through the big challenge of moving to a different technology vendor? And that's why I want first to walk you through the challenge of the industry, starting from definitions. So we'll start with the definitions to make sure that we are in line. And of course, with customers, we may not go in such detail, but it's good for you for alignment purposes. So let's start with the definition of an endpoint. If you guys feel that I'm going too quick or too slow, let me know so that I adjust to the pace that suits you or fits you best. So endpoints in our industry is anything that runs an operating system, whether it's a Windows laptop, a Linux laptop, a Mac laptop, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone or a tablet, it's a virtual machine, a cloud instance, anything that runs an operating system is an endpoint. And endpoint protection is the technology that is meant to help that operating system protect itself from malicious attacks. So it is the technology that protects or helps the operating system, the Windows, the Linux, the Mac, the iOS, the Android, and everything else to protect themselves from malicious attacks. So it should be an empowering and enabling technology for the operating systems to protect themselves. Why do I keep emphasizing on the word of operating system? Because most of the endpoint protection tools today, including Xcitium, they have gone even more than that. They've done more than that. But this is the core definition of what we call endpoint protection. Now, you want to use the term EDR, XDR, you want to use the term next generation antivirus, firewall, host-based HIPS, intrusion prevention system, whatever you call it, it is something that adds a protection mechanism for your operating system, whether it's the smallest laptop on earth or the largest server that you can deploy in the system. Previously, before 2012, we used to have what's called antivirus. And we used to have viruses, pieces of software that try to cause harm to your operating system. And antiviruses are things that we install in our laptops that try to try to catch the malicious viruses. The way they used to do it is through what we used to call signature-based, which was every antivirus vendor, McAfee, Symantec, Kaspersky, and anyone else, they hire hundreds of PhD holders that keep searching the internet for new viruses, a huge research and development team, and they keep updating what is called a database of the antivirus database, or sometimes we call it the signatures database, or I can call it the blacklist. It's the bad guys. Every time they discover something, they add it to the database, and then the customers they have to keep their antivirus database updated so that they protect themselves from those new viruses in the world. And companies at that time they used to differentiate themselves by the power, by the efficiency of this research and development team. If you guys remember those days, if you're old enough like myself, if you remember those days, they used to go, I have 150 PhD holders in my research and team, 200, 300. So that's how they used to differentiate themselves. Sadly and badly, in 2010 and 2011, the entire premise of antivirus protection was destroyed, and a massive wave of attacks happened that signature-based antivirus could not catch up to. Why? Because there was massive deployment of internet services and access. There was massive speed of newcomers of what we used to call viruses at that time. And the worst part of it is that the tactics and techniques and procedures at that time changed. So those researchers could not cope with the speed of the disaster. And if you guys also remember at that time, we had massive issues, right? Do you remember Shaman 1 that affected Aramco in our region? Shaman 1 and 2. Do you remember Stuxnet that destroyed countries? I remember all of those names. And we started having the concept of having a virus, and then a variant of the virus, and a variant of the variant of the virus. So we lost control entirely. Those were miserable days in our industry. And that's why Gartner came and they said everything earlier, antivirus, firewall, which we used to use them to protect, to block, to proactively stop the attack before it happens. They said, man, forget that. Doesn't work anymore. You need since you're failing to protect yourself using those tools, then at least have a tool that will detect the attack as soon as possible. And there are two major words here: detect as soon as possible. So detect, it's not any more signatures, because with signatures I do not detect. It means that I have to look for a behavior. I have to look for something that looks weird, that looks malicious. Does that mean that applications, scripts, attacks, they do have behaviors? Yes. And thanks to MITRE ATT&CK framework, they taught us what is meant by behavior. They gave us 14 tactics with tens of techniques that could be used to describe a malicious behavior. So, yes, there was a behavior, and Gartner said, detect that behavior, forget the signature, detect that malicious behavior quickly, so that if it starts to cause harm, you will be able to stop it before the harm cannot be controlled. So that quickly recover from that harm. And at that time, we had a rising star in the technology, which is called EDR. And EDR, endpoint detection and response, has the magic word which Gartner had. And I have here below the Gartner definition of EDR, as I said to you, based on behavioral analytics, but not only that, also indicators of compromise, damages to your registry, encrypted files, interrupted processes, anything that is a destruction on your endpoint. Gartner said, detected. So now it's not anymore signatures, it's a behavior. Two, indicators of compromise. Three, as quick as possible. As quick as possible, that is time. Gartner gave it a definition, which is called dwell time. They gave it an acronym, it's dwell time. And Gartner said that dwell time is the time needed by this detection tool, which now we call EDR, endpoint detection and response. They said that dwell time is the time to detect the malicious behavior, the indicators of compromise, respond, and that's why there is an R in the EDR, respond and recover. So the time that your EDR needs first to detect a malicious behavior or indicators of compromise, then respond to that malicious actor by isolating it, containing it, disconnecting it, killing its processes, whatever, controlling it. And then let's say it takes you 30 seconds to respond and control that malicious code, then you need to recover because within these 30 seconds, there was some compromise. And at that time, the EDR tools got what we call snapshots, where they used to keep taking snapshots of your operating system so that when something happens, they bring you back to the latest safe snapshot to recover. And the greatest star at that time was CrowdStrike. They were not the first, but they shined. They skyrocketed with the concept. They took it to the level that is unbelievable through their algorithms, technology. They got AI in it. They got AI that covers the entire MITRE attack framework. So they managed to build a really robust EDR based on the Gartner story here. And to the point where they became arrogant. They said to people, guys, boom, forget antivirus, forget, McAfee, Symantec, Kaspersky, Trend Micro, forget them all. We have the technology that is so powerful that can detect an attack from the moment it starts, from t equals 0, within so short period of time, within seconds or a fraction of a second. We detect it, we kill it, we respond to it and kill it, and we recover you to the best case that you were in. So no worries. You do not need anymore an antivirus, which was truly good because 2012, 2013, those were shining periods of our industry where there were not major attacks during that time, especially because of CrowdStrike and many other technology vendors that took that same path. But sadly, we started noticing worrying signs, especially 2015, 2016, and massively 2017, end of 2016 and beginning of 2017. And the signs are as following. One, CrowdStrike themselves came back to their customers and they said, hey guys, we told you last year that you don't need antivirus. We think you need it. But let's call it next generation antivirus. It's not an antivirus anymore. It's not signature only. It also has behavioral analysis. It has AI, exactly like the EDR. So let's have a next generation antivirus. Will try to protect you early enough before t equals 0, before the attack happens. It tries to detect a behavior. Of course, there is no indicators of compromise at that time because it's before the attack. So we try to get you a piece of technology that depends on behavioral analytics. Yes, it has some signatures, but that's not the big thing. Mainly it is behavioral analytics. It has AI, it has machine learning, it has everything you want before the attack happens. We will call it a fancy name now. We call it next generation antivirus. And at that time, CrowdStrike said our solution has a protect piece and a detect piece. So the protect piece is the next generation antivirus. The detect piece is the EDR. And at that time also, remember the old players, Kaspersky, Trend Micro, Symantec, McAfee, they did not just sit down doing nothing and seeing CrowdStrike taking the whole industry. They also themselves developed next generation antivirus. They developed EDRs to the point where I can tell, for example, the next generation antivirus of CrowdStrike is better than the next generation antivirus of CrowdStrike. Yes, CrowdStrike EDR is like the top. It's ahead of everyone else, but not the next generation antivirus piece. And so CrowdStrike started offering the customer two pieces of technology. One of them, they call it protect, which is the next generation antivirus. The other one, they call it detect, which is the EDR. Then with time, we started saying everything is EDR. So we mixed, the pot, and now we say ADR, but we mean both pieces, the next generation antivirus piece and the EDR piece, which is the pre-execution of the attack piece, which is next generation antivirus plus host-based firewall, host-based IPS, all the old stack, and after execution piece, which is the EDR. So the first sign that there was a problem is when CrowdStrike changed their approach. The second sign that there was a problem is this, the dwell time. The dwell time, which was seconds, fractions of a second in 2013, it started growing in a crazy way, to the point where in 2017, no, it's not 2017, I think it was either 18 or 19, I forgot. It got to 200 days. This is the Colonial Line attack. If you read anything about it, it was a massive attack that shocked everyone. I think it was probably end of 2017. The Colonial Line attack, the Colonial Line is that organization that transports gas from Texas to New York. And it's a huge organization, and they have the best of the best of the best EDR, the best of the best of the best of everything. Attackers managed, it was a ransomware attack. They managed to stay in their digital infrastructure for 200 days undetected. After 200 days, they managed to compromise SolarWinds, the network management thingy, and the Microsoft automation processes such as Power BI and everything, and they spread the ransomware, and boom, they encrypted everything. They collected $5 million as a ransom. The FBI managed to get back $2.5 million, so they ended up with $2.5 million. That was one of the largest shocking incidents that happened that made everyone wake up to the fact that, hey, things are not anymore the same. Then we got the 56-day attack. No, actually, we got the 90-day attack, which was the MGM group, that entertainment group, the 56-day attack, which was that hospital in Detroit. I forgot the name, and so on. So we got dwell time crazily going, which means that the time needed by Mr. EDR or XDR, whatever DR you want to call it, it takes 200 days to detect, respond, and recover. That's disaster. Today, we have ransomware pieces that can encrypt 1 terabyte of hard disk in 20 seconds. So, Mr. EDR, if it takes you 5 minutes to detect, respond, and recover, I'll be gone in 20 seconds. In 1 minute, I'll be gone. So that was the second sign that there is something massive, and then things exploded. Things exploded to the point where today we have a successful ransomware attack every 11 seconds. We went back to 2012. In 2012, we thought that our R&D team, PhD holders, they're so quick, so good, they're faster than the bad guys. Now, no, we are back to where the bad guys are faster than us. It's not only that. Look at the other disastrous piece of information. You can open Google, go to google.com and search for, you can use Bing if you want, search for how many new variants of malware do we get every day. Do you see this search? Do you see this a scary number? We have more than 500,000 of new variants of malware every day. What does that mean? Multiply this by 30 days, multiply it by 12 months. This is an astronomical number. that no one can deal with. If 1% of these new pieces of variants of malware come with advanced tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, that's a disaster. It means that we have 5,000 of every day of pieces and variants of malware that are unstoppable. Even if you go worse, forget the 1%. If it's only one of 1,000, one in 1,000, this means 500. It means I have 500 pieces of malware every single day that are unstoppable. If you were the unlucky customer to where one of those pieces of variants of malware passes by your digital infrastructure through a phishing link, through a one of your colleagues opening a website that is a malicious, a corrupted cookie, any means, even with zero click today, you know, those zero click attacks that happen on WhatsApp when someone miscalls you and that's it, you're compromised. If you're the unlucky customer, then that's it, you're doomed. Even if you have the best of the best of the best of the best next generation antivirus and the best of the best of the best of the best of EDR, you're gone. There is no way you can protect it. 500 every day is too many. We cannot afford that risk. Today, they call it the 1% gap. And again, guys, I go back to what I started with. This is not the problem of CrowdStrike. It's the problem of technology. And to add further, to add, let's say, salt to the injury, look at this document, which we shared with you. I sent it by email, which you can use at any time. We shared the document that is called Why Xcitium. And in that Why Xcitium document, we provide lots of evidence that guides you through the problem of detection today. It's not the problem of CrowdStrike, it's the problem of the detection. Today, I like to call it the curse of the D. D is for detection. We added multiple real-time attacks. The latest one we added here was in May 2026, like a couple of months ago, when Trellix confirmed that they were breached. And this is the article. You can take it. Your customers can read it, and so on. And this is the CrowdStrike attack, the famous attack that happened last year. This is the famous attack of Sentinel-1 that almost caused them to be bought by Palo Alto. They almost was able to crash, was almost there to crash entirely. CrowdStrike at that time tried in July to purchase them, acquire them, then they changed their mind and now they're still in there. That was a major attack. There is the attack that is on Kaspersky. This I think it's it is this one, the DSS killer. There is the one that is on it was this one, the EDL light silencer that was against Trend Macro and so on. Trellix, if you remember, this is the company that was a merger of McAfee and FireEye. So FireEye acquired McAfee, the very good antivirus we used in the in the old days, and they came up with their great EDR, which is called Trellix. The problem is not in Trellix, it's not in EDR, it's not, sorry, in CrowdStrike and anyone else. The problem is in the technology itself. I'll ask you a question. If you have the best of the best of the best network firewall, I don't know which network firewall you think is the best. I don't know, maybe it's Protellian or Palo Alto or Fortinet or Sophos. It doesn't matter. You have the best of the best of the best of the best firewall on earth. And I ask you a question. Does that firewall protect you from ransomware? You will instantly say no and say, why? It's the best firewall on earth. You'll say simply because firewalling as a technology cannot deal with the tactics, techniques, and procedures that come with ransomware and malware. So even if it is the best of the best of the best of the best of the firewalls on earth, it cannot stop a ransomware attack. This is the same case now. The best of the best of the best of the best detection tool cannot stop ransomware anymore. or enough. It stops 99, 99.5, whatever, but it cannot stop it enough out of those, 500 or 5,000 in unstoppable variants of malware that we get every single day. Right. So this is the problem. And in the document, if you go down, we added multiple other target articles. What is the problem in detection? How detection works? Even look at this article. When I read it, this is from 2021, guys. Xcitium, the technology happened in 2018, but this article was in 2021. And the shocking piece in that article is two things. One is the one that came up with this article. Do you see which one it is? It is Forbes. Forbes, that famous consultation company, credit analysis company, financial analysis company. And when in 2021, do you see what they said? Why the dwell time of cyber attacks has not changed. You remember the dwell time? Let's go back to the dwell time. You remember it? From Gartner, dwell time, the time to detect, respond, and protect. Why the dwell time is not changing? That's what they're asking. And this is when they even talked about EDR. They said there is a problem, guys, they are not paying attention to. And they said, if your endpoint protection technology is, or strategy is detection first, then it's a failing strategy. What does that mean? If you protect your endpoint, whether it's the smallest laptop on earth or the largest server on earth, if your strategy to protect it is that you have to detect something malicious before you block it, then you are in trouble. It's a failing strategy. So this is the problem. And as I said to you, the Xcitium document, both in Arabic and English, is there. So you can walk your customer through it. We explain how it works and so on. So this is the problem. So what is the solution? What is the thing that Xcitium brought to the industry, which is different? Xcitium said the following. Simply, if detection doesn't work, we will stop detecting. As simple as that, exactly like we did in 2012. When signature-based didn't work, we stopped signature-based. It doesn't mean that we're going to kill every piece of control that we have. We still have them, but we need something else. Okay, so how do you protect my laptop without detecting something malicious? If a file runs, you don't even bother to detect if it's bad or good? And the answer is yes, because we do it differently now. We need a disruption. We need something different. Okay, so how do you do that? Xcitium said, we bring three things together. Zero trust, which is a default deny, zero trust when you don't trust anything, default deny everything. Good. Zero trust is not something new. We have zero trust network architecture, ZTNA. We have it with access, with identity. It's something known. But guys, with operating systems, it's a disaster. Imagine that your laptop doesn't trust anything and it denies everything that it is unknown to it. Every time you open a browser and one extension tries to check for the license, boom, blocked. Every time your Lenovo tries to update its spice, boom, it's blocked. That's a disaster. You'll not be able to work. So XCD said, yeah, but we will bring it together with zero interruption to business. Zero interruption to business is what? Is default allow. Because to make your employee happy, like your accountant, how do you make him happy? You allow every application to run. That's it. They will be happy. This is good for productivity and for business. But also that's a disaster because ransomware can run too, like any other application. And Xcitium said so, zero trust, default deny, with zero interruption to business, default allow, and real-time security, which means no dwell time. And everyone said, guys, how are you going to do that? Default deny and default allow, those are opposites. There is no way you can bring them together. And that's where the genius is from Xcitium. Xcitium managed to bring default deny, which is zero trust policy, with default allow, which is zero interruption to business policy, together in a functioning manner. How did they do it? As follows. They said, whatever runs on your laptop, I keep saying the example of a laptop, but it's the same thing for every endpoint, like for even the largest server. But let's simplify it. Let's say your laptop. They said anything that runs on your laptop, whether it is e file, Word file, Excel, whatever, an application, a script, a PowerShell command, name it. Anything that runs on your laptop could be one of three types. One, it could be known good application file, whatever. Example, the WordPad.exe process from Microsoft, which Microsoft developed, which helps you launch Word files. This is a known good process. It has its unique hash. It's well known. It has its own checksum. It is well known. It is signed with the operating system. It is well known. It's a good known good process. Awesome. And sit, we don't worry about that. Everyone takes care of it. Even the oldest antivirus on earth will know that this is a known good process. The second thing is a known bad thing. And known bad, how do you know it's a known bad? It either has a signature, okay? It has a hash key that identifies it as a known bad, or it has a behavior that you can detect. That's a known bad. And Xcitium said that is easy too, because any good next generation antivirus, any good EDR will detect it, will stop it for sure. The problem is with the third type, which is unknown. It's not known good. It doesn't have a hash key that I've seen before. It doesn't have a checksum that we've seen before. It's not registered with our operating system. And it doesn't have any behavior that we can say that it is bad. This is the unknown. This is the 1% from 500,000. Remember them? Or the 1 in 1,000, 500,000? That is the problem. But Xcitium said the happy news to you guys is the known good, like WordPad.exe, the known bad, like a known ransomware, and the unknown, they all have to use your resources. Do you think if a ransomware piece runs on your laptop, it executes its code by itself? No. It uses your CPU. It uses your memory. It uses your hard disk. It uses your file system driver. Why? Because it needs to know where your files are so that it can go and encrypt them. It uses your network driver. Why? Because it needs to connect maybe to a command and control center. It could be in the US or I don't know where, somewhere in Iceland or anywhere. Okay? So that's happy news to us. Why? Because the known good, the known bad, and the unknown, which is our real problem, they have to go down and use your resources. And the good news also, those resources are managed by a tiny piece of your operating system, which is the kernel. And we have a name for them. We call them the critical resources. The kernel controls the critical resources needed by anything that runs above that in your operating system, whether it's a known good or a known bad or unknown. So Xcitium said, if everyone has to go down to the kernel, then I will just sit down next to the kernel. And that's exactly what happens. The moment you install this Xcitium client you see here, the moment you install it, there is a piece in it here. They call it auto containment. That piece goes down to your kernel here and to your critical resources here. And through a technology called kernel level API virtualization, it hooks up with your kernel. Through that API integration, we control your kernel, especially Windows, because it's a messy kernel. It's only a memory map kernel. It's not a full POSIX kernel. So we hook up with your kernel, and our client sits there now, and it watches every request that goes down to your kernel. So if the request is coming down from a known good process, it will allow it the critical resources it wants. Maybe it wants the IO manager because it wants to read and write to the memory. It gives it the IO manager. If it's coming from anything else that's not a known good one, which is we like to call them unknowns, it will not allow it. That is the default deny. That is the zero trust policy. Okay, if you don't allow it the resource, it means that you're blocking business. No. So what Xcitium does is that if a request goes down coming from unknown, it will ask itself one question. It will say, is this a known good one? If the answer is no, it will redirect it to a different universe. It will create a virtual VDI separate away from the kernel. As if it's not exactly the same. I'll explain the differences. Imagine that for every unknown, you create a separate virtual desktop or a separate laptop on top of your laptop. Separate, entirely separate. It has its own critical resource. Let's say it's asking for the IO manager, or let's say it's a ransomware. It's asking for the file system driver. So I create a separate world, isolated at the kernel level. I give it the required critical resources, like example, file system driver. And I allow it to run there. I don't even intercept it. I don't detect it. I leave it running in that different universe. Oh, so a couple of questions will come now. Okay, one, yes, that's good. You did a default deny because you did not allow it to run on my laptop. You created a different universe. That is good. So now you're giving a default allow, but in a different universe. Let's say that this was on Mr. Arshad's laptop, as if he's running it is on Mr. Let's say Soman's laptop, on a different laptop. Okay? So you brought, good, you brought the default deny because you're not allowing it to touch my critical resources. At the same time, you're not blocking it 100%. You're redirecting it to a different universe with a different critical resource, a different kernel, like as if it is a different laptop, which is default allow. The first question, is this sandboxing? No, it's not sandboxing. Why? Because, and this is another genius from Xcitium, when we moved you to a different universe, a different critical resource, different VDI, different kernel, what we did is we allowed you real environment to read real files from your hard disk. We call it the read operation is actual, is real. It's not virtualized, not isolated. But the write operation is virtualized in a different universe in a VDI. Example, let's assume that this unknown was a ransomware. So it asked for the critical resource named file system driver because it wants to find your files and encrypt them. Xcitium said, oh my God, this is not a known good one. So I'm going to give it a different universe, a different kernel, different virtualized file system driver. Good. It runs there. It reads your actual files, your actual images, Word files, and Excel. It reads them. Then it tries to encrypt. It will encrypt, but in a virtualized environment. So where real life read operation, virtualized write operation. That's a major difference from sandboxing because sandboxing is all fake. It's a fake environment. It's not a real environment. That's what a sandbox is. It's a fake environment. Sandbox doesn't operate at the level of the kernel, and sandbox is also a detection-based technology. It must detect something wrong to decide to put that application in a sandbox and then analyze it. For us, our client did not detect anything. It just asked itself, is this a known good application? The answer is no. Then Mr. Application, go to a different VDI, go to a different world. So that's the first question. This is genius, guys, because now it's a real environment. It's not a fake environment. The second question that comes to the mind, you will say, oh my God, are you going to isolate and virtualize at the kernel level every unknown? Are you crazy? So every time I open my browser, a new cookie comes in the picture. Boom, you get a different virtualized environment. Every time I license wants to check an update which is unknown, boom, that's a different isolated environment. And the answer is yes. We isolate hundreds of those virtualized environment every minute with 3% impact on your laptop. That is the third genius Xcitium did, which no one else managed to get it. I don't know if you guys read about the Checkpoint, when Checkpoint tried to do the same thing and their laptops, boom, they went boom dead and blue screen of death. They hang up because no one managed to control it properly. I think Sophos also did it when they did some testing, I think, with the State Department. Again, same problem. The only one that managed to bring all of those shiny things together is Xcitium. One is a default deny, zero trust policy. Boom. We coupled it with default allow because now we allow you to run in a different universe. So we brought default deny with default allow. But that different universe is real because we read operation, but we write in a virtualized environment. Third is that we don't have impact on your resources. Number four, and this is also beautiful. What does Xcitium do when it finds that that isolated application is bad? Let's say we redirected unknown to a virtual DI, VDI, or isolated environment at the kernel level. And then it started encrypting files. So it's reading your Word files and it encrypts them. But as I said to you, it reads real, but encrypts virtualized. What does Xcitium do to it? We don't respond to it. We don't have an R. Do you remember the R in EDR? We don't respond to it. Do you know what we do? We flush it. Because when we created that virtual VDI and that kernel virtualized story, we locked it in a memory, a piece of memory and a piece of hard disk. We flush it. We just flush it. It just disappears. To add more context to this, the kernel is the second thing that runs on your laptop. When you click on the power button on your laptop, the first thing that runs is the hardware. You know, when power gets in your motherboard, you have BIOS, you have EEPROMs, and there are pointers in the BIOS that point to the system drive. So the second thing is the system drive, which is the kernel. It boots, it goes up. When it goes up, it runs its own critical resources. It locks itself in what we call a system memory. It locks itself in the hard disk on what we call the system drive or the system files. The same thing when we virtualize it. When we create a separate virtualized environment at the kernel level for that unknown, we lock it in a piece of memory that is the system memory, but for that world, not our world, for that universe, not our universe. We keep it locked there, and if something bad happens, boom, we flush it. I always give the following example and analogy for explanation. Imagine that you guys have a policy, and that policy says you have your building, your head office, and you did build an exact replica of your building across the street. Exactly. Typical sizing, decorations, copies of people, 100%. And you have a policy that everyone that needs to come and visit you must go to that building first. If he's unknown, if you don't know him 100%, he goes there. And he doesn't come to your actual building unless 100% sure he's safe. So he goes there. You make sure he doesn't have viruses. He's not a criminal. He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't try to do something bad. But what if he tries to do something bad? What he ended up to be a thief, he has a gun, he wants to kill everyone and everything. What do we do with him, Xcitium? Or to understand it, let's imagine that Kaspersky was there, or maybe CrowdStrike. What do? They respond to him. They try to isolate, like you call the police. The police department will chase him. The policemen, I mean, they will be chasing him floor to floor, try to catch him, trick him, arrest him, maybe kill him, right? What we do at Exedian? No, 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 no. We don't respond. You just strike the building, destroy it. And we're not worried about it. You know why? Because it's not our building. It's a different universe. That's exactly what we do here. When there is an unknown and we give it a separate kernel isolation, a separate VDI that is isolated from us, it has its own memory, system memory, it has its own hard disk. We just flush it. We just kill it and we don't worry. Why? Because it is not our kernel. We're not worried about what happened to that environment. And that's magic because it means that the dwell time is equal to 0. And let me show you something quickly also. If you go to the demo of Xcitium zero dwell containment, like it is available in our website, I mean YouTube and everywhere. So if we go to the YouTube channel and you go down, 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 where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Da, 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 da. Boom, boom, here it is. Okay. This is a YouTube. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Boom. So this is a YouTube demo of video, recording video of the zero dwell containment in action. It has two virtual machines. One of them is the blue one and the other is the green one. The blue, both of them, they have Xcitium client. But in the blue one, we stopped the last action. You remember? Flush it, destroy the building. That's the only piece we stopped. Why? Because we wanted you to see the process, what happened. In the green, we kept it entirely exactly as a real-time environment. So in this blue, and both the blue and the green, we have this document from Microsoft. This one has a cryptic ransomware, but we don't know yet. Our client, the Xcitium client, doesn't know yet that there is a cryptic ransomware. So it is unknown to us. So when the guy double clicked on that Word file, the first process that was running is the wordpad.exe, which is a perfectly good known process, which is okay. But through the embedded code in that file, another piece ran, and that is from the ransomware. And that piece sent down a request to the kernel. Asking for what? Asking for the file system driver. Why? Because it wants to know where your files are. It wants to encrypt them. Our Xcitium client sits now on top of that Windows kernel. So it says, hey guys, I got a request now coming from unknown. And since it's unknown, I will not allow it to touch the actual kernel. I will not allow it to touch the actual critical resource, which is the file system driver. So immediately it created a different isolated kernel level isolation VDI for that specific request. And it allowed it to run. So that ransomware, it ran. To us, it's unknown. Until now, it's unknown. We don't know it's a ransomware piece. So we allowed it to run, and that ransomware used the file system driver and file table. Now it knows where your files are. A real environment read operation. It went to your files. It read the file. It's still a real environment. It's not a fake environment. Then it started encrypting, but now it's encrypting in a different universe. So let's look at the demo. So as you can see, the Word file, when the Word file was double clicked, if you notice, it's surrounded by a green border. That is weird. Like if you double click on a Word file now on your file on your system, it will not come out with a green border. This is a visual sign from Xcitium saying to you visually that, hey man, there is something wrong with this file. I'm not saying it's bad. It's unknown. I don't know if it's good or bad, but because of that, I'm running it for you in a different universe, but I kept a portal to your environment to give you real read operations. And the nice thing, look at this. The file is editable. As you can see, he can read and write, change the file, the font size, insert images. So imagine that this is like for one of your accountants, he double clicked on the file, Xcitium isolated it in a different world. He can finish working. As an accountant, maybe he will not notice the green border. You guys in IT and cybersecurity, you will notice it, but he will not notice it. So he will work, he'll finish, he will go back home, sleep, come back tomorrow, double clicks on the same file. Again, the file opens in a green border, but he doesn't feel the difference because of the real environment and because of the zero interruption to business. And this is where, as you can see, we spun a separate VDI for it. This is the system drive for that different laptop. And as I said to you, we locked it in a memory. And in that environment, it is a complete real environment because it does read from your real life, from your laptop. So if you double click in it, you will find your user. This is the user, your name, Arshad, Xcitium. You will find your desktop, your documents, your pictures. Boom. The pictures are encrypted. You see, there are 6 pictures. 5 of them are encrypted. One subfolder is encrypted. Whoa. But this is in a different universe. This is the right operation. The read operation was from your real pictures. Now you go to your real pictures, right click, open new window, your pictures are intact. So that ransomware really read those pictures. It's a real environment, but encrypted somewhere else, not on the same file. And this is genius, guys. This is magic. Imagine you're running an infected file with default deny and default allow at the same time. Your accountant is not mad at you because he can finish work. It's not was not interrupted by the process of protecting the endpoint. And even if we go further, let's move forward to the when the ransomware finished the job. Ransomware now finished the job. It encrypted all the files. Now you got a message saying, hey, pay me $1 million or I will or I'll destroy your data and stuff like that. Can you see that message? It is surrounded by a green box too, which means it's coming from a different universe. It's coming from the aliens. It's not my laptop. This is the environment which Xcitium in the green virtual machine will just boom, flush it. Just flush it. And that universe will just disappear. Okay. If we move forward to show you how it happens with the green environment, this is I'm sorry. Let's get rid of the ad. Okay. So this is the what? This is the green environment, the green virtual machine. So he did exactly the same. He double clicked on that document. Everything that you saw in the virtual machine happened again here. So the WordPad.exe launched, which is awesome because it's a known good process. Then that embedded code in the Word file, it started a request going down to the kernel for the file system driver. Xcitium client said, man, you are not a known good to me, so I will not allow you to touch my kernel. I'm going to create a virtualized environment for you at the kernel level. And then you go there. I give you access to the documents, but if you do any write operation, you do it in your universe, not in my universe. And then that ransomware read the first image, it encrypted the first image. Now Xcitium said, hey, you're a bad guy. Boom, flush, strike the building, destroy it. Don't call the police. Don't call anyone to come and catch it. Don't respond it. Boom, just flush it. And this is what happened. And the error you see here is not from Xcitium. This is from the Windows virtual machine. It says Windows cannot access the specified device, path, or file. And that's true because it's gone. That universe is gone. Okay. So, and after we flushed it, Xcitium client went back to the file, which was on the desktop. It encrypted the file and it moved it to a hidden folder in a quarantine. Why? Because you need to go back as a cybersecurity expert to investigate it. We just don't want to just wipe it out entirely and remove the whole file. No, we want to keep it for you to investigate it and do your forensics using Xcitium tools and Xcitium threat intelligence or any other tool that you use if you run a security operation. This is, guys, a major disruption. I'm not sure if I said to you guys before, but I've been in cybersecurity since high school. I did my first firewall installation when I was in high school. And since then, this is the largest disruption I have seen in cybersecurity. Everything, well, compared to this is a joke because this is not something good. It's not something better than someone else. It is something that is absolutely different. It is something that is absolutely different. And this is why analysts today, like this report from Frost and Sullivan, when they did the analysis in 2022, look what they say about it. Let's read this. They say Exceedium's zero dwell time technology. Do you know Frost and Sullivan, they name it zero dwell time technology. Gartner, they name it zero dwell containment. Do you know why they call it zero dwell? Do you remember the dwell time? The 200 days, 17 days, 56 days? With us, it is zero because we did not respond. Because the dwell time is what? Is the time to detect, respond, and recover. We did not detect, we did not respond, we did not recover, we just flushed it. So our dwell time is equal to zero. That's why they call it zero dwell time technology, which is utilizing what? Patent, because it's a patent technology, kernel API virtualization, which prevents what? Prevents unknown malware because the problem is in the unknown malware. From what? From accessing critical system resources that can damage. While what? While providing complete use of the file or the application. Remember this demo? Remember this beautiful Word file here? That's what they are referring to. the complete use. Where is you, Mr. Word file? Here is the word file. Yes, this beautiful word file. This is the complete use of the word file. And then look what they say. This is what a distinct departure from all existing vendors. It's not an enhancement of existing vendors. It's a distinct departure from all existing vendors. It is the one that what does what? Strives to close. Everyone is the 1% gap. Remember the 500,000 new variants of malware? They call it the 1% gap. They say that most of other vendors, they are 99% effective. Who covers and closes the 1% gap is us. Is the one too much? Yes, it is too much because out of 500,000 new variants of malware, that is a lot. That's 5,000 or 500 or even 200 every single day. That is a lot. That is why we said the problem is in detection, not in the vendors. Detection itself now cannot provide enough protection. Even if it detects 99.5, 99.6, 99.9 of those malware variants, the zero point zero 0.01 is still a lot, and you have to deal with it. This is the unique technology of Xcitium. As I said to you, they call it zero dwell time technology. The patent name is zero dwell isolation. That's the patent name. But there are different names to it. Zero dwell time technology, zero dwell containment. And it is the one that set the floor for what we have today as a huge thing, which is called ring zero protection. You know, ring zero is the kernel. If you remember from the operating system courses, ring zero is the kernel. Today, if you search for ring zero protection, it's a huge thing. You will find hundreds of thousands of articles. And of course, it's the highest privilege because it's the kernel. And everyone talks, and Wikipedia, look at what Wikipedia says. This is the kernel. And then you have the different rings that the operating system has. Everyone says today, hey, we have ring zero protection. They say we work with the kernel. No. They say we work with the kernel. Yeah, of course. The solitaire game also works with the kernel because you have to use the resources that the kernel offers. But no one controls the kernel like we do. No one managed to successfully have that deployment where you control the kernel, every request that goes down there, and you manage to bring default deny, which is zero trust, with default allow, which is zero interruption to business, in a real time environment, which is zero dwell time, no dwell time, no 200 days, no 106 days, and 50 days, and 60 days, and so on. Okay. So we're leading this environment. I hope soon that someone, it looks like soon, maybe in 2027 or before the end of 2026, someone will manage to do that. They will then, hopefully at that time, Gartner will have a separate domain space for the ring zero protection, and definitely Xcitium will be leading that stuff, will be leading the whole thing. And as you can see here, it says the kernel, the drivers, you know, the network driver, the file system driver, the file system filter, the kernel filters, all the big things that we know about the kernel all happen in the ring zero, which now Xcitium manages effectively, efficiently, with less than 3% consumption of your resources. This is not the only product that Xcitium has, even for endpoint protection. Like if you go down now and look at what Xcitium offers in endpoint protection, we do have next generation antivirus like anyone else, and it's a detection based tool like anyone else. Even maybe the Kaspersky next generation antivirus is better than ours. But you know what? Doesn't make a difference. Because when the Kaspersky's next generation antivirus fails to detect, you're gone, you're doomed. If our next generation antivirus fails to detect, the zero dwell containment will stop it because it's unknown. We will isolate it and we will flush it at that same thing with EDR and whatever XDR and all of that D story here. If because maybe the CrowdStrike EDR is better than our EDR, but doesn't make a difference because when their EDR fails, you're gone, you're doomed in phase in detection. When our EDR fails in detection, doesn't matter because you have the last line of defense. You have the last soldier on the battlefield that is ready to protect your endpoint, even if those detection-based tools fails. If one of them stops the ransomware, that would be awesome. So we don't have to do another, isolation here. But if they fail, you're covered with that. Today, this piece alone can be sold on top of existing EDR, such as CrowdStrike and all. It was, I think, tested with 7 or 9 other EDRs. It can sit on top of them if you want. Or you can do a rip and replace where you rip the entire technology stack that is provided by the other vendor, replace it by the entire technology stack that Xcitium has, starting with the Xcitium zero dwell containment, zero dwell time technology, and on top of it, the next generation antivirus, the HIPS, the firewall, and the EDR, and boom, boom, boom. And you can even have managed detection and response where the customer gets a free SIM and he gets SOC services from our MDR team. And you can get XDR from Xcitium, where we give you sensors that you connect to your network and we can sniff your packets and look at anomalies in your traffic and then correlate the anomalies of your traffic to the alerts that are coming from the endpoints. This is called XDR. We have other components. We have an email security gateway, which is a cloud-based gateway. We have a web security URL filtering gateway that's a DNS-based URL filtering. So it's not exactly like, Semantic and Blue Coat and, ForcePoint and others, but it's an enterprise grade technology and it's a cloud-based subscription. Or you can on top of that, we have a training platform, cybersecurity awareness platform, where the customer can subscribe and attend videos and go through quizzes and that kind of stuff. And it comes with 4 phishing simulations with it. So for free, it comes with that 1-year subscription for phishing simulations, where you can run a phishing simulation, find out which one of your colleagues was fooled by that email and he clicked on that link, and then you can work on their training and education. We also run penetration services, testing services. We provide cloud protection. It's called CNAB and CTEM. So cloud native application protection, like for major cloud development and that kind of stuff. So we have a huge stack of technology on top of that zero dwell. It's not only the zero dwell, but what really, really, really makes the difference is this beautiful purple piece of that slide. That is the zero dwell containment or zero dwell isolation. Now, you may ask a question and you say, okay, yeah, I see the story. I see the value, I see the story. What does others do? Yeah, like what does CrowdStrike do today to address that 1% gap and others? And they're trying to help address that 1% gap, but not through innovation, but actually through making the customer pay more. How? So you go to them, let's say you're their customer. You say, guys, okay, I think CrowdStrike detection rate is 99.03 or 3, I forgot. based on the latest like analytics. Let's say it's 99 just for the sake of easier calculation. So you go to CrowdStrike and say, man, you are so good at detection. Beautiful. You detect 99% as per the analysis and analytics that you have. What are you going to do about the 1%? The first thing they will say, hey man, don't worry, we're the best in detection. We have AI, our algorithms are so good. And then you say, okay, I understand. But what will you do if you cannot detect? Because I want to be safe. They will say, okay, on top of our product, subscribe to our MDR team, SOC service. Now you are not alone. We have all of our SOC team keeping an eye on your endpoints and your alerts. If we notice, if we detect something wrong, we're going to save you. And again, say, okay, guys, nice. So now it is not 99% detection rate. Maybe it is 99.5 or 99.7. That's awesome. That's a great development. But what if you cannot detect? They will say, oh man, then go and start subscribe to those specialized tools for anti-ransomware. You know that Arctic Wolf or Halcyon or others. Those are very specialized tools that you can put on top of the EDR. They are also detection tools. They're not zero trust, detection. They are detection tools. They keep an eye on your certificate, the cert manager in your Windows that where ransomware needs to use to run the encryption process. Okay, that is good. But that's only for ransomware. What about malware? Malware does not use that cert manager. And it's also a detection tool. So if I am by CrowdStrike technology at 99% detection rate. And then because of the MDR and the SOC services, it became 99.7%. And maybe because I'm also subscribing to Arctic Wolf or Halcyon anti-ransom, I increase it maybe to 99.9. It's still detection. What about the zero point zero 0.01? No one has the answer to that. And 0.01 is a lot. Multiply 0.01 by 500,000. That's like what, 500, 700, 300, 200, 100 every day. So, no, they have to admit that the problem is in the technology itself. I like to call it the curse of the D, the detection. It doesn't mean that we will stop using detection. No, detection is good in our industry. But when it comes to endpoints, when it comes to our servers, virtual machines, cloud instances, laptops, and that kind of stuff, we must have that zero trust, not only detection. It's still a piece of our stack, exactly like the firewall. Firewall does not block ransomware attacks, right? But we still need it. We still use it. It's good. It's good for DDoS attacks. It's block. We can do application filtering, traffic, application IDs, policies, and all that. It's really good. We cannot just get rid of a firewall. It is still a piece of our environment. But when it comes to endpoint protection, I must make sure that I have the last line of defense, which is the zero trust plus zero interruption to business plus real-time security. The Xcitium platform is basically a SaaS platform which you subscribe to. It is built on AWS cloud for provisioning the services, and it uses the Google Cloud for analytics. In our region, we use the AWS in Frankfurt, the nodes in Frankfurt, but also it can be deployed on premises. So if there is a customer that requires it to be built on premises, like a bank, a government agency where there are regulations, it can be built on premises. So you get the endpoint protection. This is only for the endpoint protection, which is the zero trust, the antivirus, the EDR, and the endpoint piece. It's not the email gateway, it's not the web gateways. That's only cloud. Okay, so it's limited to the endpoint protection. And as I said, I remind you guys because the word endpoint sometimes is confusing to customers. When we say endpoint protection, endpoint is anything that runs an operating system. Protection is the technology that helps that operating system protect itself from malware, ransomware, and all of the bad stuff that we have in the internet. This is our first orientation session. I took longer than I was planning to, but I wanted because I know that you guys are I know Mr. Arshad, I know everyone. I know that you're deeply knowledgeable. So I wanted to go as detailed as possible so that you digest the knowledge deep in your heart. This is the starting point. You need to believe in this story. Everything else is easy. So there will be a session about it's called Discover Xcitium, where we go through the products. That's good. You guys know technology. You know what a web gateway is. You know what email security is. You know all of that stuff. It's not a big, you know what ITSM. We have an ITSM piece. We do patch management for Windows, vulnerability assessment. We do a lot. We do remote control to replace any desk. There is a big story. We will do that. There is a session for that specifically, but you guys can manage it easily. I wanted to spend enough time on this session because this is where the actual value comes. This is the differentiator. This is where Xcitium is light years ahead from everyone. Soon you will get others. So you need to be ready for competition. I personally think end of 2026, beginning of 2027, someone will manage it. So then you will have competitors. It's not anymore, it's only us. Hey, we're the biggest guys and we're the muscles and everything. No, someone will come soon. So we need to digest that knowledge by heart. And always, don't worry, we're here to support you. We will work with you as if we are an integrated department for you. So we will be your pre-sales department. We will help you with technical responses, technical write-ups. We will help you with POCs. We will help you with comparisons. We'll help you with customer presentations, engagements, everything. We even will help you with marketing. This is why I had my team so that you can refer back to us whenever you want for marketing purposes. We have lots of tools. I don't know if you know that our competitors, they call us the lords of digital. We're so good at that. So the team is there to support you. We can help you with business development and demand generation. We can help you with the professional services and support for POCs. The only thing that you don't need our help with is the final sales process where you decide about your pricing and you go through it. Now we have everything localized in the region with Xcitium Arabia. We have processes for deregistration and protection, and we truly protect big time. I'm willing to fight nail and tooth to make sure that my partner is protected and make sure that you get the right protection for your efforts. And with this, I conclude my session. I'm happy to take your questions or comments. And I'm looking forward, Mr. Arshad, if you can coordinate the second session for the product, the Discover Xcitium. And I'm happy to take your questions, please.
Great. Thank you so much for your valuable input and time. Team, do you have any queries or doubt?
No, as of now, no, but they have given a very good session to us. Thank you very much for that.
It's a pleasure and honor, man. I'm happy that you enjoyed it.
So,
Great.
team, shall we conclude over here?
Great. So
Thank you so much.
session is recorded, so shortly you will get that link for the video. Second thing,
Please.
please, Mr. Arshad, let's coordinate for the next session, which is the product. That is a normal session. You just need to know the names of the products. It is a nice, quick presentation called Discover Xcitium, which I'm sure you guys can manage very easy. And then we manage other sessions later on. Okay, buddy?
Done.
Good. Thank
Thanks,
you so
everyone.
much, guys. You guys have a great day. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.